Right. So, welcome to Coffee with a Purpose, everyone. The last session of 2025. Cannot believe how fast this year's gone by. And today our discussion is on environmental topics, hosted by the EcoNatick group in Natick, which includes a lot of also Coffee with a Purpose regulars. So, a lot of faces will be very familiar. In fact, but should we go ahead and do introductions as well? Roger, I know in general, I think you don't necessarily know everybody on this group. So why don't we go around quickly, and then we can turn it over to Rick and others. So, Kathleen.
Hi, good morning, friends. I'm Kathleen Donovan, Natick resident for 35 years. I've been on the library board not that many years, but quite a while. And I also volunteer quite a bit with Keep Natick Beautiful.
Thanks. Tom?
Tom Daly. I've been Natick resident for over 35 years, former town meeting member, active member of Spark Kindness. And welcome, Rick. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Martin?
I'm Martin Kessel. I'm a longtime town meeting member, chair of the Open Space Committee, and I've worked with EcoNatick. I guess I don't know if I'm an official. I don't know if there are official members, but I've certainly worked with EcoNatick on various issues and obviously all the Earth Days. So good to be here.
Thanks, Martin. Roger.
Charges of kidnapping and domestic assault.
Oh, sorry. Somebody's
Yeah,
got something going on.
Roger Luckman, a 30-year Natick resident, formerly on the Sustainability Committee, a member of EcoNatick, and also Elders Climate Action, where I spend a lot of my time in energy, kind of focused on state policy primarily these days.
Hmm, great. I had not heard of that group. That's interesting. Cindy.
Morning, Cindy Bates, 5+ year resident of Natick. Keep Natick Beautiful, volunteer and trail steward, and member of Sound and Spirit Chorus.
Thanks, Cindy. Carrie.
Hi, good morning. Let's see, 22-year resident of Natick, relative newcomer here. Treasurer for Keep Natick Beautiful, the Repair Cafe guy. We have a date for the 7th one coming up. I'll share that with you later. I was co-founder of Renewable Natick, which drafted and passed the resolution way back in October 2018 to move the town to 100% renewable energy, and was on the Sustainability Committee previously. So welcome. Look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Thanks, Carrie. Bill.
Bill Ramage, Renewable Natick, EcoNatick, Keep Natick Beautiful, Community Preservation Committee, and very impressed with the work Rick and Donna have done through EcoNatick. Very, very pleased. Want to hear some more about it.
Thanks,
Welcome,
Bill.
Rick and Donna.
Thanks, Bill. Gianchi, I had muted you just because you had some background noise. So if you could come off.
Sorry.
Huh?
My radio is constantly running for the whole day. This is my company, the WBUR. I'm listening. I'm a big listener of this radio station. But anyway, my name is Jean Molnar, 25+ years resident of Natick, and I'm looking forward for the today discussion.
Thanks, Gianchi. Brinley.
Good morning. Also a 25-year resident of Natick. Way back when, before we even had a sustainability committee, I was on the recycling committee for a bunch of years. I did a bunch of composting. I am a wannabe with EcoNatick. I work with them a lot, but I don't necessarily say I'm a every time member. Town meeting member. I know all you guys. You guys know me. That's it.
Right.
Thanks. I'm glad you guys are here.
Great. Sally. Sally might be away from the computer. Donna.
Happy Monday. Great to be here. Longtime town meeting member, former school committee member in all kinds of town committees and involvements. And it was so wonderful to work with EcoNatick on this. artificial turf warrant. And I really enjoyed it. And EcoNatick is just a wonderful group. And I look forward to today's discussion. It's great to be with a group of people that want to talk about the environment in a world where it seems like that is becoming not so important anymore. So thank you for hosting this discussion.
Thanks, Donna. Sarah?
Um, Also a longtime town meeting member and also on Community Preservation Committee with Bill. Volunteer a bunch of stuff around town, including having been working with EcoNatick for several years. Not a active presenter today, but definitely want to be part of the discussion.
Great. And I'm Doug. I'm an EcoNatick grunt. I just do things when they ask me to, but not one of the core. And I also have the AI summary on, which I've been doing recently, and then making those summaries available to the principal speaker afterwards for whatever value they find in it. It's generally pretty good, but you never know whether it's going to be 100%. So I don't generally post those publicly. With that, Rick, I'll turn it over to you to start, and you guys can go wherever you want. I do have a burning question, though. Is it EcoNatick or EcoNatick? Or are we just inclusive and what can do you say?
We might have to have a vote on that one, because I call it eco, but I don't know. I don't listen very well, so I need a vote. I need a vote to understand that.
Yeah. All right.
Well, okay, that's a good one. Okay, I'm Rick Devereaux. I'm relatively new, and without this group, Coffee with a Purpose, I don't know what I would be doing in Natick of activism, frankly. So I really appreciate being here. I've been here for 8 years. I am not the leader of EcoNatick by any stretch. Debbie Marion really got us started about 5 years ago. And we sort of had an active calendar for about 4 years. And Debbie has done, first I want to thank her. Well, first I want to thank all of you for showing up. This is 3 days before Christmas, or 4 days, whatever it is. And it's a very busy time. So thanks. I think it's incredibly valuable that you're here. We hope to make it more valuable. So we'll get into the things. But I do want to say that without Debbie, this organization, as organized as it is, would certainly not exist. Perhaps somebody else would have stepped up. I have no idea, because I don't know people that well. But she has not left it, but she has gotten it to be, as far as Earth Day, which is the number one thing that I think occupies a lot of us through a good part of the year from now until really, we've already had an intensive meeting discussing it for this month for May 2nd and 3rd this year, and it's the thing for which EcoNatick is best known for. And Debbie's done an amazing job with that. I don't think she could be here today, and I'm sorry she isn't, but she's been here before. And so I also want to, put out a huge thanks to all the others, grunts included, Doug, without whom none of what EcoNatick does would be possible. So just quickly, an update from Debbie on EcoNatick is that it's not terribly significant, but I don't know if we want to pull up the website or not on the screen, but it's going to merge into a new format, so it'll look different, but it'll operate the same. It's going onto WordPress because the umbrella group that supports EcoNatick and groups like us, some which are part of a town official and others which are voluntary like ours, Mass Energize does a tremendous job. We pay them $1,500 a year for support of things like the website and their small staff, which organizes a conference that gets all of us together from 20-25 towns at least, with speakers for a day in April. And that's a wonderful day for the environment. I think it's open to anybody. You don't have to be part of EcoNatick, or anybody who wants to be part of EcoNatick, by the way, can be. We call ourselves members, but there's no pledge, there's no nothing, just show up when you can. And we really would love to have other people show up at our meetings and contribute. So maybe we can begin to get agendas out to through Coffee with a Purpose to this wider group when we're meeting.
Rick, is there anything you wanted me to show on the EcoNatick site? I've got it up, but
well, I tell you, I mean, we could pause on that. If people here have not ever been to it or are unfamiliar with it, it's possible to do, I guess, a little quick navigation on what it is. What do people think? Yeah.
Rick, before you do that, that center item, to act like you live here, that's something Deb Marion created herself. And that has been picked up by the Sierra Club, I think, and it's sort of internationally seen every now and then. So that's our own Deb Marion, and I think it's the greatest banner you could have. So that's all I have.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bill. That I did not know, and that's tremendous. Wow. Okay. Well, other comments or questions about it? If you scroll that, if you scroll up a little bit, you can see what's underneath on the bottom of it now. So currently, these are ports you can sort of enter through, obviously, and they're pretty self-explanatory. I'm not sure if anyone wants to see any of those. You can also, on the top menu, there are actions. Those are designed to allow individuals or organizations to post what it is that they've done with a photo. It's quite easy to do. We ask that everybody who does it upload with their post an image. Doesn't have to be a photograph of some kind. And you can get an idea of what's going on, what people are doing, initiatives, and so forth. And it's very much in the spirit of what Debbie, again, has to be credited for, which is the core idea of Earth Day. Natick's had an Earth Day for somebody who's been here a long time. Remind me, Sarah probably knows, back at least 20 years, 25 years. How long is
it? Well, I don't think it's been every single year. It does go back a number of years before the pandemic, but I'm not sure whether every single year there was one. Pat and his group organized it. Gary's got his hand up.
Yeah, I don't know, can't remember what year. It's probably 2016 or thereabouts. Pat, helped to resurrect it. It had been, Festival on Common for many, many years, and then it stopped. Yeah, we sort of brought it back, and then COVID kind of took it back inside. We had not on the Common, but in some different buildings around town. And then in 2021, I think they tried a virtual Earth Day Festival, which is kind of interesting. And then COVID lifted, and we were back on the Common. So it's, I don't know how many years it was sort of dormant for, but it does go back. And we thank Pat for resurrecting it, because it's a great festival.
Yeah, no, it was. I had been to it before. I think before I even moved to Natick in 2018. I think I had been to it. I missed the virtual one, but when there's Pat. So EcoNatick's first Earth Day was after 2021 and 2022. EcoNatick's was, and that one we did pretty much without a Common event. We tried something on the Common that with town officials, to have them come out and sort of give an update on what their departmental area was, but we didn't have very good command of the Common. There was music playing, and it didn't bring out the same thing as the booths and so forth have done. So we went back to that in 2023 and have done that since, sharing the Common last year for the first time outdoors with the farmers market, which really helps attendance a lot. So that event is definitely one that we're still planning to do, and is kind of the well-oiled machine of Earth Day.
Pat, I was just saying, you showed up just in time. Sorry to jump in. Pat, you kind of just before you showed up, you were saying, when did you resurrect the Earth Day Festival in the Common? About 2016?
It was earlier than that, I think. I'm
But you got on mute, Pat.
I just found a post in Natick's open space webpage 2012, but I'll post that. Maybe I'll find an older one. I'll keep looking.
I think we were trying to hammer it out back then, and we had some challenges with once or twice with weather. But I think that I mean the new Earth Day format is very good. I like it a lot. You know, the activities. I think Natick's uniquely designed to have a really great festival on the Common, because the Common is such a great location. And you know, we used to do it. I think what we did was we avoided Saturday. We do it mostly on Sundays, and that was good because we tried to after people would sort of get out of church, and then that day, Sundays, the parking was a lot easier downtown and all that stuff for vendors, and it took a lot. It was a lot of work.
That would
It's a good thing
get his
I had
car over
a
in his car
committee
and get
like,
all the
you know,
tables and all the tables over there from FCC and
yeah, we
it was
were
crazy.
hustling, but we had interesting. You know, we had musical, dramatic performers, and you know there was pretty good food. I think I don't know once or twice. I think we got Casey's Diner to do some of the basic culinary stuff, and then well, the Common is quirky with electricity, so some of the vendors needed electricity. You know, we had to get at that time. I think it was John Marshall was helping us hook up to the odd electrical outlets that are some on the poles there, and once in a while the trip, the circuit breakers would trip and stuff. But the gazebo was pretty good staging area for a lot of the music. And then sometimes we did stuff right in front of the music, right in, like the concerts do it, they had, and I thought it was, the strength of it was how it did bring the community together, in this really interesting way, and gave all these echo groups a chance to, show up. But we had other groups too. We had some groups that were not specifically ecology oriented, but there was sort of like a town festival kind of thing.
When we first did as EcoNatick in 2022, one of the drivers for having it, what we called all around Natick, really was coming out of the pandemic and thinking that people would be nervous being in a big crowd on the Common. So we thought if we distributed it, that would kind of get at that issue. But we did get comments. We won an event on the Common. People really did like that format. So that was part of why we said, let's go back to also having something on the Common by 2023. Some of the concern about social distancing had kind of calmed down a little.
I'm sure it's more work, but it's great that you guys do both.
Yeah.
Well, it was nice. Back in those days, I had a little bit of luck. The churches, most of them, the pastors were pretty, active and eager to help. And I've met with them, and I tried to mobilize, FCC and the first kind. I mean, there were a bunch of different. The one thing of all the churches, but they had very progressive pastors. Hartford Presbyterian. They were all like into the earth, and I think we had the temple working with us too. The Catholic Church wasn't that engaged, unfortunately, but the Episcopalian and the one on Union Street, I forgot.
Lutheran Church.
Yeah, those churches plus CSSC were really, I got them kind of fired up about it. I don't mean to compliment myself, but I think they did. They really got in there. And then we had the DPW. We had the big trucks would come down, and the kids could climb in the big trucks and honk the horns. Sometimes that interfered with our musical performance. I got a little annoyed when the kids were up there honking the
I know
horns.
at our church, Bill was one of the principal members of the FCC Green Team. I see Roger's got his hand up. Roger, go ahead.
Yeah, just quickly, the I mean, Deb Marion really was the mover and shaker behind getting us together and getting EcoNatick to be the main sponsor, and she has really kind of carried the ball in a serious way, organizing a relatively small number of folks who are on this call and a few others to kind of pull this off. And Deb is stepping back from that role a bit, and I think I just throw out an idea. I mean, does this really need to be just EcoNatick? If we were to try to put together a steering committee involving some other town organizations, could we get some support and help pulling this off so it didn't necessarily have to be just an EcoNatick event? Just a question for the group.
I think that's a nice idea.
It's a great question, Roger. Thank you, and thank you, Pat, for coming and sharing some of this history. I'm sure others in EcoNatick knew the history and lived the history with you, but some of it is new to me. Working with John Marcus on electricity, for instance, and
yeah. Well, I got a kind of a funny story to share with you quickly. Because before we revived it, I think it was 2012, back in the early 2000s, I guess, or maybe they did try. Natick, correct me on this, Doug and Sarah Martin, you might remember. Natick did had a few Earth Days. And they were organized by, I think the High School Earth Club was very active at that time. And, I'm trying to think but anyway, they had the Earth Day Festival, and then they had a couple of these kind of young rock groups. And I guess one of the rock groups was up there, and they shouted out some pretty hardcore lyrics. So.
I don't remember that, but
there was an F-bomb, or there were a few things. So the whole thing kind of exploded. That was way back, back before Martha White, I think. I wasn't part of those, but yeah, Terry. Excuse me. Everybody knows Terry.
Terry Evans.
Yeah.
No, not Terry Evans.
Terry Miller, who was the head of the recycling committee for 20-something years.
Yes, okay. So, and her daughter, they really worked hard on organizing, that Earth Day period. I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years, but I wasn't able. I was teaching, so I wasn't really able to get involved. But yeah, and then it kind of crashed and burned there for about, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 years, and then finally we sort of got it revived. And
this is a really interesting discussion, I think. I mean, it's fun to hear about some of the pioneers and then how others have taken over and reshaped it. And it looks like that's what EcoNatick is poised to do now. Folks have sung Debbie's praises quite a bit, deservedly so. And she's, taken a step back, and now it's like the real test of the organization for an organization that has get its start off the energy of one person to then survive and flourish as that original founder takes a step back.
That's going to be a great thing. That occupies all their time.
Yeah.
You got to say, yeah.
Cindy said her hand up.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you,
Cindy, did you want to say something? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I guess partly a question to Roger and partly just maybe to clarify sort of the overall mission of EcoNatick. I'll say eco. And then it sounds like the primary thing is organizing an Earth Day event. And I like the idea of having more groups being involved. But I'd be curious, Roger, if you have ideas, or I mean, I guess I don't really know very much about it. Like, is the town already involved, or is the schools already involved, or and then what are your hopes for what other organizations might?
A lot of organizations are invited and come on board, and they will come down and set up a table and a booth and be present, and that's great. What's missing, and what I think we could use now, are some people who were more invested in actually organizing it. and stepping up and taking some time. And I guess these, Jillian is supportive, but I think doesn't have the staff to, is very happy to have EcoNatick take it over. I don't know if there are any of the town committees that might be related where they would be willing to step up and have a representative sit on a steering committee, or whether there are other groups in Natick that have, some who, probably not the schools, for example, but maybe some who've just come down and had a table, really feel that this is an important event and they want to invest in it, and they have a membership where they can send a representative to a 3 or 4 person committee that really would step up and take this over. That was a thought.
Mm-hmm. And then
Yeah,
my first question really about the whole mission of EcoNatick and
can I jump in?
Do.
I was involved with Deb at the very beginning, and basically Jillian said the town's not going to support it anymore. If you want to do it, it's all yours. So she was very supportive. But Deb's vision, in addition to EcoNatick all around Natick, distributing it rather than having it in one place, was that Deb felt strongly that the organizations there should have some eco presence, so that she was not supportive, and I don't mean this negatively at all, of having a bank come in and sell their services. That was not consistent with what she felt, and I think we all agree Earth Day is all about. So we kind of tweaked it to make it much more focused on the environment. And I think that was a great thing. Now, to Roger's point, there's certainly a lot of organizations that are still supportive of the ecology and nature and Earth Day. But I don't think we want to get involved with having banks come and hand out their junk and their plastic, because that's not really what Earth Day is all about. So just throw that in as more background.
Yep.
Yeah, good point. Pat had his hand up.
Yeah, I was going to say, I understand that strategy. I believe that the format we had, we weren't really trying to engage commercial groups. We did have some proprietary organizations. People were selling or making rain barrels, stuff like that.
Wow.
And we had some artisans that were, more, sharing their crafts and their arts. And it was a little fuzzier. I mean, I admit the focus of that particular Earth Day that we organized, but we kept it pretty much in line, and it was kind of like a little bit of a Natick Days Earth Day kind of hybrid. It was more in that because it was sort of centered right in the town and celebrated the community and its various organizations. I think we even had a couple of high school groups there that, participated in certain ways. I don't remember. Well, it was people like the high school football team helped us with all the heavy lifting and chairs and tables and putting things away. And then my grandkids were involved in the Natick High Drama program quite a bit. So they performed the Lorax or something. It was kind of a performance, but it was kind of environmental based, and it was I think you'd need a steering committee if you wanted to do something similar. It would take a fair amount of hard work, and maybe we just don't have the soldiers to pull that kind of thing off. But I think that the concept of bringing the community together, which happened.
We lost you again.
Farmers market, Natick Days, and all those things. That. Oh, did I? Oh, I don't know. Okay, I don't know what's going on. Anyway, I'll stop in a second. I don't know what I hit. Somebody put a picture up. Oh, Martin.
Yeah, that was Martin found a picture of the first Earth Day there from 2012 on the Natick Open Space Facebook
Okay,
site.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can.
But anyway, that was the only thing, and I think the Earth Day EcoNatick Earth Day with all the actions and activities is a great thing too.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the best formula would be, but that getting the community together and celebrating the community kind of thing, which is done, already with some events, I thought it was pretty powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. Rick.
Yeah, this has been terrific. Actually, this is a dream. To have everybody else talking through this stuff is exactly what we need. And I think Roger bringing that up is great. There's already been a couple of ideas that, are worth, I mean, for instance, the rain barrel, the commercial side of things. Let me just finish with the remark that I was starting to make about the all around town piece of this. This was Debbie's inspiration, I think, also, though I don't want to uncredit somebody else who had that inspiration with her or had the inspiration in the first place, but as a way of engaging the community. And the reason, I mean, I like the synergy with the churches and on Sunday is a great thing. The reason we're doing it on Saturday and why we've landed with has some implications. The around town thing, part of why we do that is to have a way to promote in person the activities that are going on around town, mostly after Earth Day on the Common is over. The event on the Common is terrific. However, doing it in conjunction with whether first time we did it, the Earth Day, I mean, the farmers market was still indoors. Now it's going to be outdoors. And again, and when we do that, selling stuff, they have the whole common. So we have to, we're sort of there with their permission on part of the common, and selling stuff when they have vendors there who are trying to sell stuff might sort of kind of, estrange us from what Deb Sayre is hoping with the farmers market, because we'd be pulling people away from the farmers market if we were selling if we had scooter vendors there selling electric scooters and all kinds of stuff. But the rain barrel idea, there might be some minor things we could do along that line that would really, sort of take home kinds of things. But mainly it's information. We don't want to take away from the groups that are there to share their information too, because that's the resource that gets lost. Many of us and them are also at Natick Days, but Natick Days is, is a wonderful circus and an incredible event that I did come to before I lived in Natick. And there's an awful lot of that now. And I don't know the history of Natick Days and how long that's gone on, but there were a number of vendors there actually that I even joined in with, like Dark Skies. So, but one of the, to sort of get to another feedback point, I'm just curious how many people here have actually visited any other sort of around town site on Earth Day. And if you think that that idea and that concept has the traction that it needs to have to keep us doing the Earth Day the way we're doing it. Personally, I love it. I think it's a great way to reach out to the community, to involve the community. And I've been, active personally also in trying to get people to do things at their homes and do things at their, organic farm, to host events and all of that kind of stuff, I think is really valuable. But what do other people think about that? Because that's, I think everything's fair game to discuss here. And I'd love to hear other thoughts on it.
Yeah, let's start with Roger, who's had his hand up anyway, which he may or may not want to address that question.
I could quickly address that. I mean, the way that around town works. I mean, I think it's up to individuals to step up and do it. So in essence, it's a little bit of work to kind of organize it and let people know and advertise it. But I think people who do it once and nobody shows probably don't do it again. And people who do it and they have some folks come and they enjoy it. I think that's very positive, and it's because it doesn't take a lot of work for EcoNatick necessarily to kind of pull that off. But just quickly to address the question of the mission, is that kind of on?
Yeah.
It's related in the sense I think sometimes we feel like we are Earth Day. That is EcoNatick. EcoNatick has not formally adopted a mission. But in essence, I think what it's really two things primarily. One is educating the community about all manner of environmental issues and concerns. And the website does that to some extent, and Earth Day does that as well. And we have a newsletter. So education is the well, that's probably three things. Then to activate, hopefully let people know that there are things that they can do, and that's sort of linked to the education. We're educating to activate primarily, and then there's individual behavior change, and that's the website is really big on that. I'm not really convinced a lot of people make great use of that. But it is there, and it was a centerpiece of the thing when Mass Energize put this together. The whole idea that people go on, they say, I want to change this, and they track what they're doing, and they see how many changes they make, and then they kind of blow that up to the whole town. How's the town doing? My sense is that has not really taken off. Now, I will say, I think so. What has emerged in terms of an organic mission is as specific town issues come up that are really town and local. Okay, so we have lots of statewide organizations. We have 350 Metro West. We have kind of regional organizations doing a lot of stuff on different levels around policy and other things. But then there's the local stuff, and I think we've stepped in. That's with artificial turf, with the leaf blowers. And with other issues that individuals in EcoNatick have said, hey, we think this is important, it's arising now. So that's kind of a work in progress that could be expanded or moved on. And there, I mean, I'm a heat pump coach, and there are, the question is, can we bring even some of this other stuff under the umbrella of EcoNatick? The heat pump coaches have a separate little group that we're working with. Should we be kind of trying to bring some folks together to really collectively focus on what are really the local issues? Just a thought.
Yeah. Pat and then Sarah.
Yeah, I think that the way that EcoNatick has designed the Earth, the newer format with everybody, or a lot of folks doing specific actions, repair cafes and all the other things that people are doing. I think it's just that, if there were a way, I don't know if they have the manpower to plan it and pull it off, but to bring into the Earth Day focus the groups in Natick that are doing something to they're doing something to help the Earth and the environment, but they're also kind of trying to bring the community together. I'm thinking of the ones that are kind of like Natick Unified, or what is it, Unified Natick?
United.
Yeah, and I'm thinking of Spark Kindness and some of those groups that are kind of they're not commercial, but they're sort of our nonprofits that are kind of leading the way to build community and get people connected. Maybe there's some school groups or some scout groups, or there's some groups that are doing that type of thing that might be worthwhile to get them on the common together, and not people just selling stuff, but keep it focused mostly on Earth and community activism or something. Because I think the groups can maybe find out that each other exists, and that's where bring them together on the common has a lot of strength, and that's what we sort of tried to do. But we were doing all kinds of other things too. The focus was not as sharp as. And I have worked with some of the other communities like Wayland and Framingham, and they attempted to do. Well, they have organizations that are kind of like EcoNatick. You're probably aware of them, like Energize Wayland and Keep Framingham Beautiful. And there are a bunch of these organizations that are very much focused on the Earth, and some of them are pretty effective. And they do all this stuff. Even the Wellesley one, I've worked with the Wellesley people. This is a few years ago. But they have a real active, and they have a whole team, let's say, that focus on open space and quiet communities and climate change. So there's a lot going out there that's within all of our shoulder towns, our towns right around us. We can learn a little bit about how to do this from them too.
Good
Well,
point.
that's the beauty of
Yeah.
Mass Energize is that they, sorry to interrupt, is that they do bring us together. And, they, all of these places, the only thing I wanted to say is that um, it became very clear because of the net zero goals that Jillian and the sustainability, that she needed a net zero committee. So the sustainability committee was great when I dropped into that back when that was still going on, and it had a broader focus than net zero does. They're really focused on emissions and on reaching net zero goals, which is terribly important. They have other interests, but in terms of bandwidth, and help with us and reaching out, to be more a part of organizing, as Bill said earlier, Jillian just flatly said we can't do that. However, she really values what's done in the community to build community awareness and get out, have the community get to know each other better by doing these things. So I think there's a real opportunity. In other words, there's a lot that can be done. Other organizations in other towns, some of them started, for instance, Sustainable Wellesley, which I've known for a long time, started when they didn't have really any sustainability director in town. They didn't have a Jillian. Natick is uniquely lucky in that we've had Jillian for a long time, and she's done an incredible job. And so our role is very different than it is. There are other ones in other towns that are 501c3s. That's a whole another level of organization and so forth that we haven't had the bandwidth to kind of go for, to become, to be able to grow and to, receive donations in that way. But it would take a lot more people. But back to, other people's points and Roger's point on the mission, I think was very well said. It's, the things work together, educate, activate. And then the other thing I just wanted to mention, and then I'll throw it back out to the group, is Debbie's other motto that she introduced maybe 2 or 3 years ago, Sarah, was, make a shift. We're in terms of inspiring people to take individual action. We have these just make a shift has been a theme at the booth for the last couple of years. I think that's also a wonderful one. Though I agree with Roger that the website hasn't quite reached its potential at all in terms of, being a thriving place where people are exchanging ideas. And it doesn't function as a social media site. We have a Facebook. It's important to say EcoNatick.org has a Facebook page, and what else do we have? Do we have an Instagram account that are operated as part of, I think, as part of particularly active during Earth Day, which has been very helpful to be able to get things up on that.
Yeah, I know. I see a lot of hands up, and I'm turn it over to Sarah, who's next in line. But just to your point, I don't know who it was on the EcoNatick group that took on the task, but as you know, there's at least half a dozen, if not more, Natick Facebook groups. There's Natick Moms, Natick Dads, Natick Talks Respectively, Natick Unfiltered, and EcoNatick around the big events made sure to post in every single one of those groups. I think it really helped with visibility. But I got Sarah, and then Carrie, and then Bill, and then Cindy. So.
All right. So I wanted to make a point way back when we were talking about about the individual events and whether people have enjoyed those, and then every time somebody said something, I added to what I wanted to say. So I'll try to boil this down as much as I can. But the first 3 of the 4 years that we've done Earth Day so far, I did host an event. In my case, being a geologist, a hydrogeologist, it was focused on the world underneath our feet and where does our water come from and things like that. And I led various hikes, and I really enjoyed it. I couldn't do it last year because I was coming off knee replacement, but I hope to be able to do something like that again. So at least from my perspective as a presenter, if you will, I did enjoy that. It's really a chance to engage with people for more than 1 minute at a booth. You get, they're with you for a little while, and you can really talk to them, answer their individual questions. So I absolutely enjoyed doing that. In terms of the website and the history of all of this, I think one thing that probably needs to be said is that we took on Earth Day when we were a very new organization with the original intended goal, as people have said, of putting these, using the website to basically, my understanding of it was that it was trying to address the idea that as individuals, we can feel very helpless in what we can do to make the environment better. And if we could see some aggregated data of other people in town, we're all doing stuff together, and pretty soon you're talking about some real action. And it was really designed to help motivate people to don't give up, but see what we're all doing, working together. And that we took on Earth Day kind of to get our name out there originally. It was like, hey, we're a new group. If we organize Earth Day, people will know about us. And in a way, Earth Day has kind of become the tail that wagged the dog, and that is what we're known for. And I think we probably could do a better job in getting back to the original thing of using the website to help motivate people to do stuff. There was one other thing I was going to say, and I've forgotten it, so I will be quiet.
That's a really interesting point, Sarah, that the tail could be wagging the dog on this. And interesting. All right, I'll park that one. Thank you.
Yeah. Terry.
Yeah, just going to say two things. I got to jump off and go do some work for renewable Natick for Family Promise and the Natick Affordable Housing Trust. But quickly, I want to say, Rick, just to follow up your point, when we started Renewable Natick, we had two focus. It was 100% renewable energy and, almost more importantly, net zero emissions. That was built into the thing that we were trying to promote when we drafted the resolution. So, I know Jillian's done an impactful job of kind of carrying that mission forward quite a ways, but it was kind of built into it initially. The other thing, I want to thank EcoNatick for, it was the perfect place to launch our first renewable Natick. There's the word again. I've got so many. Repair Cafe. Yeah, that first Repair Cafe we did, and we have a seventh one coming up this coming May, Sunday, May 3rd, 2 to 5. Start collecting your things that need repair.
Terry, I'm already doing it. Thank you.
So it was, I had helped out in Framingham, get that up and running. It was a lamp repair person, a couple other things there. And I thought, we've got to do this in Natick. And it was, a number of things kind of just fell into place. And then having EcoNatick as sort of the not sounding board, but the marketing arm sort of to get this out there to the whole community was really just critical. So I thank EcoNatick for doing that. And I got to jump off, and hopefully we'll see all of you on Sunday, May 3rd for some repairs. We got volunteers. If you have any questions or might be able to volunteer in any shape or fashion, Natick Repair Cafe at gmail.com. And I'll bid farewell and Merry Christmas to all of you. And
thank you. Likewise.
All right. Thanks, Carrie.
Merry Christmas.
Bill, you're up.
Yeah, I like Sarah. I kind of keep adding to my list.
Yeah.
I wanted to thank Sarah for that history. That's this thing is morphed. Earth Day has morphed. And Pat, just to you, I want to be real clear that I wasn't critical in any way, or didn't mean to be critical in any way of who you invite, or you guys resurrected it. That was awesome. And I could never criticize anything Pat does. But anyway, the EcoNatick now is about is doing what we can based on the resources available to us. And basically, as Sarah said, Earth Day was sort of dumped on us, and it was we do something or it doesn't get done. So we threw all our resources into that, and I think the website suffered a bit, although it's still there. And if we get more resources, I think we can try and expand that. And I'd like Roger's idea too. I didn't mean to be critical of that. I hope you didn't sense that. Of reaching out to other groups. That's a great way to build the organization. So I'm hoping we can do that. And Terry's gone, but the Repair Cafe is a perfect example of how Kerry had something he was doing in other towns, and he was aware that Earth Day was coming, and he spliced the two together. So we now have this wonderful resource on Earth Day that just it's just the whole philosophy of how this thing is coming together is sort of changing and morphing, and I think it's great. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Great. Cindy.
So the I got a few things. The idea of bringing community together, um, it occurs to me that if you had a single event, like an evening speaker or a film, where you could get a lot of people in the same room, that might be something like the night before or the week of, or something. And then it just so happens that yesterday somebody somebody sent me an email, and then below their signature was this thing like the Natick report, but it's for Belmont. And I like, okay, well, this is interesting. And the fourth thing down was this guy named Jonathan Crones. I emailed this to Doug and Martin last night, and this guy did a talk in Belmont called Garbage 101. He's a professor at Brandeis, and he did it at the Belmont Library. And I know that Morse has money to do stuff like that. But maybe something like that could be a unifying um, tool. And then completely different topic, but for me, the idea of putting whatever I'm doing to be more sustainable on a website, like I don't like I could see how that could add up over time, but that is the last thing I want to do it with my time is do that. And but I will say, and I don't know if I've mentioned this to Carrie, but a sort of idea for a business occurred to me. I think I told my mom, who's now being helped by Carrie, that he and I should start a business of helping people set up clotheslines in their backyard. My mom has lived her entire life without a dryer, and I do my laundry at her house and hang my clothes on her clothesline. And I don't see too many clotheslines in Natick, but it's a pretty easy way. Um, and it takes 10 or 15 minutes, and you're out there with the birds and the breeze and a little bit of nature time every week or so. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts for right now.
Those are all good thoughts. Carrie,
Excellent.
you had remembered something.
So I
you
did
mentioned
remember,
before.
but just quickly in response to the clothesline thing, maybe you were inspiring me to go back to my clothesline. I used a clothesline for many years when the kids were small. It was great. But then the clothesline eventually broke and the trees grew taller and it took much longer for the clothes to dry. And I no longer have one. So maybe you'll inspire me to go back. But in terms of contacting other groups, I think this is something where we could use some help. I think that if there are people who have contacts at a particular group, I know I've tried multiple times reaching out to schools, reaching out to scout troops, and our kids are grown and gone from those groups, and I don't have really direct relationships there now. And I've tried, just trying to contact the principals of all the schools and the head of the PTOs. Multiple years I tried it. I got absolute crickets, no response whatsoever. So last year I didn't bother. Um, and so, I think it would be wonderful to have those groups involved, but I think it really needs to be a more personal connection. I'm sure so much stuff, like all of us, so much stuff crosses these folks' desks that without knowing, it's like, oh, this is the group that Rick's involved with or whatever, and having that personal connection of maybe I will think about actually doing this. Random Sarah that they don't know, giving them a push is not enough to get them going. So certainly, if people have connections at various groups around town, that would be wonderful just to have some help catching up with them because we would love to have those groups there. We just have not been successful in getting it done. So
good
Good
points.
point. Good point.
Yeah, Martin.
Talking about having mini lectures or real lectures. Well, I think you mentioned it was Cindy the night before, but that's almost asking too much time from people. I believe there was a point where the 2 days of Saturday and Sunday had a lecture track. I forget where it was. Maybe it was Town Hall. I don't know.
Yeah.
But and then during the COVID, that's all there was is lectures, and of course they were not live. They were they were on Zoom. But I think a live lecture has more impact. And if that was one of the offerings at any given time, those people who might be interested in that lecture or just might want to rest from going all the way around town and doing all those things might have a nice half hour or 10 minute whatever it is a break, and that could be something to add to the mix.
Mm-hmm. Good points. Donna, need to come off mute. Yep.
Yes, with respect to the clothesline, using a clothesline can kind of be a radical act these days. I don't know if you know, but there are some communities that have bylaws that prohibit them because they think they're unsightly. I guess people hang up underwear or sheets or whatever.
Melania's panties? We've
Oh my
heard about
God.
those. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Bras, whatever.
Concord tried to do it, and they have one of the town meetings where everybody's in town as a town meeting member, and it was the only time my 80-something-year-old aunt went to town meeting to speak up against it. But a lot of people don't like clotheslines, so actually, it's a small action, but it's kind of radical. We can all start using clotheslines and hanging our clothes
In
outside.
our front yards. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if our front yards, I actually have arborvitaes by mine, but I still have sun. And when I had Mass Save come to my house and my dad was still alive, they were like, there's nothing you can do to save on electricity. In fact, we think you could use your dryer a little bit instead of using your clothesline all the time. But there's nothing like, especially the smell of fresh, clean sheets on a clothesline. I mean, I have to fix mine right now, but I just want to underscore that using a clothesline can actually be a radical act, and it's a kind of a simple thing that we could all do.
All right,
So
I have
that's
to
it.
jump in. When we were first married, our landlord lived upstairs and his nephew lived with him, and he had a motorcycle. And we had a washer, but not a dryer. We had lines in the basement to dry our clothes, and the nephew would come in and tune his motorcycle in the basement. And our laundry was not fresh and clean, and we had to wash it again. So anyway, I know that's not on topic, but I just couldn't let that one go.
All right. Roger, I think you're up next.
Just say in our sojourns in Europe, drying racks are very, very, very common. And just hang things up in a room where it's warm enough. It takes a long time to dry. I was just going to say in response to this question of trying to pull together a small team to organize this. I mean, to Sarah's done just yo person's work, reaching out to the schools, and I wouldn't, and I think we have had some involvement there, and I think what we would expect from them is to organize themselves to come to Earth Day.
Yes.
I'm thinking about maybe there's a handful of groups that would like to have, I don't know what the organizations are exactly. Maybe there's some green teams in some of our churches. Maybe it's Beautify Natick. Maybe it's Open Space, or I don't know what all the organizations are that might like the idea of projecting, like we got our name out this way. Maybe other folks would feel like, well, there's a benefit to this. And I'm just talking about, can you get 3 or 4 people genuinely committing some time and energy to this to help make it go?
Yeah. Yeah. Brinley and then Sally. Brinley?
Hi. So, like Sarah, the notes keep growing. um, I'll, this wasn't what I was going to start with, but I'll start with this one because I think it's shorter. I had clotheslines in the yard for years and years and years, and the season is so short that I found for me, it feels like the season is so short because truthfully, I don't want to hang out wet clothes. Like today, the sun is shining, but it's so low and it's 30 degrees. So, they wouldn't dry. And anyway, the season was so short that I found myself investing in drying racks. And when we redid a little section of our basement, I actually put hanging poles all around the room. And between the drying racks and the hanging poles, I'm still able to line dry our clothes for the majority of the year. I mean, there are some things I can't do. I can't do sheets and towels because I don't have room for that. But anyway, I put a couple of drying racks in the chat because I know they seem expensive, but truthfully, I have the giant wooden one that stands 52 inches tall, and I have been using it now for, I don't know, at least 15 years, at least. So it is more than paid for itself in not drying clothes. I know a lot of people don't have room to do that, but anyway, I put them in there because I grew up with drying clothes on a line, and so it's second nature to me. And having it in the basement is actually really easy because I just take them straight out of the washer right onto the clothes rack. So it's really quick. Anyway, and then the second thing was I just listening to the conversations about what to do in the schools, and so back when we were the recycling committee. We started an event called CYA Day. I don't know if any of you guys remember that. I'm definitely dating myself. We did it for well over 10 years. We called it Clean Your Attic Day. And we literally put together an event specifically around reuse and recycling for everything. So we had More Than Words come with books. We had Bikes Not Bombs come to collect bikes. And the reason we were able to coordinate with the schools is because Terry Miller was still working at the high school at that stage of the game and was friends with the computer club. And they used the computer recycling truck as their fundraiser so that they could go to states and nationals because they were really, really good. They're still really good. I don't know if they still do the computer recycling. It seems weird that I haven't seen that. I think there's so many people that do it now that they probably had to change. Plus, there's been some faculty turnover that might have affected it. But anyway, it was a pretty huge event, and we would run it on a Saturday from like 9 to 1. And we had a shredding truck. We had Big Brother
went there.
Yeah, we had Big Brothers, Big Sisters come and collect everything else. Those events took so much out of the waste stream. And I've noticed since then that we have done as a community so much to make an event like that a lot harder to do because Savers is in town now. And we have the pink bag recycling, which you don't have to use pink bags anymore, but we have simple recycling at the curb where you can basically put anything that Big Brothers, Big Sisters was taking in that bag and make an appointment and they'll come pick it up for you. So we have all the bins and all of the high schools and all of the schools around town where you can put textiles. We have it down we can put books and textiles down at the recycling center. So it feels like there's been this huge change in accessibility for those types of needs and events in town. So it feels like it's harder to put together something like that these days. And I do feel like part of why we had so much success was because Terry was at the school. So we had an in to teachers at the school, and we don't have that in anymore. I have tried and tried, as have you, Sarah, to get them to participate. Pat, you had so many more connections back when starting Natick Earth Day, rebooting it. So it's really hard to get that into the high school. I've tried to get the politics people. I've tried to get with the groups, and it's really hard. So I don't know what the solution is for that.
In terms of
because I miss it.
Thanks for all that, Brinley. Just before we go to Sally, just in terms of strengthening the relationship with schools, after our Coffee with a Purpose break, school committee members will be coming here the first Monday in January, the 5th, to talk about their work on developing a 5-year strategic plan, at least we'll have some voices on the committee amongst our community. Might help us lobby for strengthening relationships or making the schools more accessible to groups like ours. Sally, oh, you got to come off mute. There you go.
There we go. I wanted to reminisce a minute about the time that EcoNatick organized our Earth Day, and we had different venues, and one of them was at Christ Lutheran, and my little tree hugging book group called Green Reads had a Melissa Probst making soap. And I know we sat out in the fresh air, which was lovely, and watched her make the soap and listened to her step by step. And in a way, it was also teaching us how we could make soap. So I think there are some real benefits about focused presentations, like you've mentioned, even at the library, Cindy was talking about, because the festival day of Earth Day is pretty much like a carnival. And I think the idea of learning and getting a new talent or a new hobby that's environmental, like the beautiful soap demonstration. It was fellowship time. It took a couple of hours. You don't just make soap in 15 minutes. So in a way, it was kind of an organic way for socialization. Now, having said that, I love it being back on the green, because at various venues, if you're going to go to a repair cafe, that's very focused. If you're going to go to a great movie, that would be very focused. But I think EcoNatick might bandy about some unique experiences. Also at the green, if you had a speaker who was a dynamic environmental speaker on the day of being somebody at the gazebo, they have a musician playing, they might have a dynamic speaker for 15 minutes or 3 or 4 dynamic speakers. So there's some ways for EcoNatick to play with presentation, I think.
Mm-hmm. Lots of good input.
Yeah, if I could add to that, Sally, I think that's a wonderful idea. And it makes me think about food, particularly cooking, and in the form of an activity. That's something people could do together, while also learning from somebody about healthy food and unhealthy food, and the environmental impact of unhealthy food. I don't know how many of us have read Inconspicuous Consumption and books like that talk about the emissions and the waste of food. That's a huge issue, but I think that's something that there's always a lot of interest in learning how to make a new dish and learning how to use ingredients that are healthy, and where did the ingredients come from, and on and on. I mean, it's a whole stream of stuff. If somebody were willing to do that at their home, that would be marvelous. We've had people, Amber Keller, who's an active, member of both EcoNatick planning and doing, but also is composting in the schools, introducing that there. This is coordinated through Jillian's thing. It's a wonderful thing, but she's done very good things. We're well attended at her house. She's a environmental naturalist, and I can't remember the name of it, but some certified group of people who are sort of above the level of normal naturalists. I can't remember what that's called. Help me out if you know anybody. But
yeah, Rick, the thing that I was thinking too, that food, and there are a lot of things that can be presented. People would trample themselves to watch Bobby Flay right outside the gazebo, have 3 tables set up, and watch him cook and listen to. There's a lot of cook, and chef artists. There's nothing like. Sometimes I think the food is a lovely draw, and good healthy food. It wouldn't have to be hours and hours. Just a simple 20-minute would be. A lot of those things could be featured again at the gazebo, where people could cluster. They can go around to all the other tables. I think maybe EcoNatick needs would benefit
Well,
little drama.
if we're sharing the common with the farmers market, I mean, wouldn't it be cool to just,
Partner with them.
get the food right there at the market and walk 50 feet over to the cooking demonstration station and prepare it? That could be pretty exciting.
Exactly what I was thinking too. Is we should try to coordinate this with them. I don't know.
A lot of orchestration.
Yeah, anyway, it's a good thought. It's a good thought. Thank you.
Lots of permitting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sarah makes a good point. Lots of permitting if you start cooking food.
Yeah, cooking food and getting electric service, those have been something that has been tough for us with our small team to take that kind of stuff on ourselves, because that involves a lot more engagement with the town than just, Jillian gets the common for us. But that's I'm not saying we can't do it. I'm saying it is a step up from what we have been doing.
It's definitely a hurdle. And the electric outlets there are generally used by the bands that play with the farmers market. So yeah, anyway, yeah. But still, even if somebody did it at their home,
Right.
Or grilling.
Yep. Cindy and then Pat.
So just a couple more things about clotheslines. Brinley, there's something called sublimation, in which you probably know, I learned this in 8th grade and then I kept forgetting the word, but now I've got it firmly in my brain. It's when water freezes and then it goes to, it dries without melting because it's below freezing outside. So you hang up your sheets and your towels. 3 hours later, they're dry on a day like today. That's what's going to happen here at Glen Road in Weston later today. And the other thing about clotheslines is my parents, in addition to having a clothesline in the backyard, they put a trail easement right down the driveway, right through the backyard out to the trail. And so people don't really like walking through someone's yard. So not only do they have to be accustomed, took a while to walking through someone's backyard, but also to the sight of sheets and towels and whatever else is on the clothesline. So yes, I like the word that Donna used, an act of, I forget.
Yeah.
And I'm really pleased with the way this discussion is shaping up. I think a lot of really good ideas have come out. I also wonder, are there local, like neighborhood groups in Natick? I'm not aware of any, but if there were, that might be another place to tap into. I know in Roslindale there were places where there would be like a block party. It would be like 20 families on one block, and I don't know if that exists in Natick or whether there's things like that. And then scout troops, I put a note in the chat. I don't know if Paul has connections to who organizes the parades and getting in touch with scout troops that way, but I see them out every time there's a parade, and that might be a way of just chatting with the leaders those times. Okay,
Yeah, you know who has connections with the scout troops is Doug Drenick, who was with us last week, because there's lots of Eagle Scout projects that both troops do. So, Pat.
Yeah, well, I would just like to say it's been a very interesting discussion, a lot of great ideas. And, ideally, I think maybe Doug, you mentioned it, or Rick, you could put together a little steering committee of faithful like us and, bring some of these ideas into the salad bowl and figure out how the Earth Day Natick, EcoNatick, whatever, that could be stepped up. And maybe it would be something like, what it already is, which is great with all the different initiatives. Or maybe it could also, on another day, which would be a lot of work, but, on another day, it could focus on bringing these groups together on the common face to face so they could actually meet each other. And that may be kind of really interesting thing to try. But I think you need a team to want to get together and work with, I assume, EcoNatick on a couple of these concepts.
Yeah, I see some parallels here between how this group operates, not this group being EcoNatick, and aspects of our church, actually, that, we've got a lot of committed people, a lot of great energy and ideas, sometimes great ideas, but not the bandwidth to implement the ideas.
Exactly.
But that's okay. I mean, others will have the energy to do it. But I guess the point I really wanted to make is, and it goes back to much earlier in this discussion, we were talking about kind of what was the original purpose of EcoNatick? Has that shifted over the years? Is that okay that it shifted? And I think it's fine that a group like this, to me, seems it goes where the energy is. I mean, environmentalism as an umbrella topic could take 1,000 people. It could take 1,000 people to be doing, important work in either advocacy or sharing ideas or just anything and everything. And wherever, as long if EcoNatick just has some kind of guiding principles or something, then any activities within that's what they're doing. Um, you know.
Well said, Doug.
No, I don't know how well said it was, but I think you
Yeah,
get the
that was
gist.
very well said. Yeah, if anyone is interested, we can update you on a couple of activities. But this has been so useful, frankly, far more useful. You guys are all, I consider you all sort of inside the EcoNatick environmental bubble with us. So you are
Yeah.
our, inside focus group. So thank you again for all of this.
Yeah. Cindy and Pat again. Yeah.
Yeah, when you said high school, I remembered the other thing I was going to say is that there's a young woman at the high school. I think she's now just a sophomore, but she might be a junior. She's the woman at Natick Days and other days that was working on electronic cigarette disposal, getting a petition because
Right.
you can't put them in the trash, and they're not. You can't even take them to hazardous waste. They're like, what are you supposed to do with these things? This woman,
Not smoke them.
this young woman, I don't know, she's 15. She's a superstar. So if EcoNatick wants to do something at the high school, reach out to this young woman.
Do you have her name, or is that
Couldn't
something?
tell you, but
Yeah.
it wouldn't be hard for anybody at the high school to know. She's of Indian descent.
Yeah.
And I think she was there with her sister and one other young woman. But yeah, she's all over it.
Cool.
Organizing. She's got, yeah.
Great. Pat.
Yeah, that's a good point, Cindy. I think I've seen an email of hers go across my feed once or twice, and I'll try to check on that. It's kind of a noble cause, obviously, and it's interesting what the kids sometimes get fired up about. But I believe that the folks in this group here, the brain trust here, so to speak, have a lot of good ideas, and it could be conceivably, it wouldn't be a CWAP session necessarily, but you could, maybe Rick and EcoNatick could organize a Zoom, so this kind of thing could be hashed out a little bit more over the next, like 4 to 5 months. And
we may be coming back to you soon. We'll see. Because
I'm not trying to make more work for you, Rick.
No, as not at all. But as I think Sarah may have been saying earlier, with mentioning that Deb had stepped back from there, or Roger has stepped back from this, but Sarah and Victoria, who did a wonderful job of bringing the leaf blower warrant to town meeting in 2024, which got kiboshed by all of the landscapers at that meeting. But she did that single-handedly, which nobody should have to do that, because as Donna knows now, and Roger and Tien, who worked with us on all of the work that went into the artificial turf warrants of the last 2 years, it's a ton of work. But I lost my train of thought completely. Yes, but in any event, if Victoria and Sarah don't find they have the bandwidth to take over the herding of the cats on some of this stuff with Earth Day, then we may very well be coming back for more more assistance than we have. So, thank you.
Cool. Yeah,
I meant to mention you as well, Brenly. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, as usual, Brinley has been all session long populating the chat with all kinds of links. I don't know if if anybody has checked out the description sections of some of the videos, but you know, there's like a dozen or more links now, generally each week, thanks to Brinley of different topics that we've touched on. That's a huge contribution. So cool. Well, I think this kind of thanks very much. I think it's been a great discussion this morning, and this is kind of wraps up Coffee with a Purpose for 2025. So I hope folks enjoy their various end of year activities. After a short break, we'll kick off in January. I mentioned the school committee wants to get some input from us and share some information. Then we'll be talking with the Caring Coalition, which I understand is kind of a partnership of a lot of the local churches that are all involved in various outreach activities and trying to share resources with some of that. Fairly soon, we'll be moving into the election season and interviewing or having forums for candidates. Looking forward to that. So it's been a good year. I think we've had a lot of great speakers this year. Terrific conversations.
Yes,
Don,
since you mentioned that, I'll say that if anyone has any ideas for moderators or would like to moderate a climate conversation, another name that Debbie came up with, climate conversation with candidates. I'll be looking for moderators and getting issues from people, Jillian included. I did want to mention that I asked her if she had anything that she would like. She was unable to attend today. If she had anything that she would like to bring up. And she did mention that the biggest thing on her mind is trying to get with regard to building construction, an integrated policy of the select board passed so that it would be standard to look at building in two new town buildings. The infrastructure needed, if it's not beginning with electric, electric HVAC, that it would be possible to convert it at a minimum of expense and disruption. So that would be a huge win if that can happen. And if there's any way we can help that happen, that would be great. So.
But
can I just say before we leave that you may have heard that Troy Smith is not going to be here. The funding for his job has run out, and it seems to be there's no money. So I'm a little bit concerned about DEI and the town's commitment to it, and what will happen going forward. I think Art Ferguson's position might be a little more secure because it's been redescribed, so it's not just DEI. I don't know how dependent on grant funding that is, but is there any interest in having a conversation on looking at DEI?
You mean on Coffee with a Purpose? Yeah, I would heartily endorse that. That strikes me as very similar to when Metro West Medical Center decided they didn't have funding for a chaplain anymore, and they kind of nixed the position, and then they tried to somehow put those duties in a volunteer coordinator position, and it took I think it was the Natick Clergy Council actually kind of put some pressure on them to put something back in place. So yeah, what we need is the right contact with the town to have that conversation. I'd be interested in that.
I'm not sure if it would be Jamie Erickson and somebody on the select board, or who would be good to have that with.
Yeah,
but
I think that's important.
I just felt terrible. I mean, there's a $2.4 million request for the an artificial turf or turf field still on the school committee budget, and a DEI position for the town has been cut for lack of money. So
Yeah.
I just think we can do better here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks for bringing
So
that up. Who is Art Ferguson? Remind us.
Art Ferguson was hired to do some of the DEI stuff with the town, with the school department, but his position
Okay.
is also bigger. It encompasses also, I think, student services, special education.
Hmm.
Um,
Interesting.
but I mean,
yeah,
how
Yeah, Brinley, did you want
Art's
to jump in?
position has been budget line added for a couple of years now. I think he's probably pretty
yes,
safe. He's definitely been much more deeply integrated into the administrative aspect of our Natick public schools. So I'm guessing he's that position with him in it is going to stay around for a while. I can speak a little to the to Troy leaving. I went to his thank you little celebration. I was really disappointed to find out that they, I heard it through the grapevine, and I was probably the only public person that showed up. In fact, I'm sure I was the only public person that showed up, and
didn't
the
know there
select
was
board
one.
only found out about it a little less than 24 hours in advance. So most of them couldn't go. I completely understand when you have something that is a position that's grant funded like that, for it to go away. I can say that I know that personally, I know that Kristen Pope is very disgruntled, to say the least, about this and concerned about it. And I'm sure that she would be more than happy to find time to chat with us about how to figure out DEI in town at the town level, and not just the school level. And I can reach out to her about that, because this removal of his role has been very unsettling. Yeah.
Yeah. Brinley, while you have the floor, do you have other local things that you wanted to update us on?
Sure. Yeah. I've brought it up before, but I'll say it again. Tonight at 5 o'clock at the Community Senior Center, there are a few elected officials putting together a ask us questions. Let's talk about running for office. What's holding you back type of session from 5 to 6. And I would love, even if you have zero interest in running for office, I would love for there to be some people there just to ask questions, to start a little bit of a buzz about what it is to run for office. We have so many people who run for office repetitively over and over, and I'm unbelievably grateful for that. So this is nothing against that. I just know that a lot of reasons people don't get involved is because they just don't know. And this is an opportunity for people to find out more about it. So please help spread the words to your groups and to your people, and post about it. It's at the Senior Center at 5 o'clock. And then there is a school committee meeting tonight that I think has issues on it that people might be interested in. Again, I put the agenda link in the chat. And then just one last local fund plug. Since we won't see each other until after New Year's, I would like to remind people that New Year's Eve on the Cotichuate Rail Trail is really a lot of fun, and they've changed it this year. They've changed it up some. There's going to be a lot more lights. There's going to be food trucks there. It's going to be a different situation, same but broadened. And so, if anybody wants to host an event, host a table, host anything, please, there's still room. So please look out, and I hope to run across all you guys New Year's Eve on the rail trail.
Great announcements.
So far in terms of running, I know Cody Jacobs is running for select board, and so
is Kristen. Kristen
yeah.
Pope is running again for re-election.
She's running for re-election. So I don't know about the school committee. I don't know whether I think there's going to be a seat open there, and I don't know if anybody's running on it. But even if there are only one person running, I think it's worth inviting them to speak with us. I just think we learn from them and they learn from us. So I don't know how many people we get to something like that in a public thing. So it may be that it's just as well just to have it on here. There's a bigger forum than what we can pull together in a non-competitive race. So
well, I think the nomination window or paper window hasn't closed yet, too. So
no, it hasn't. It hasn't.
It has not closed yet.
It will soon. Yeah.
Yeah. Cindy, I inadvertently lowered your hand and I saw it was up. So, or I prematurely
I just
lowered
wanted
it.
to share that Margot Hudson, who was here last week, wrote the most amazing thank you note to Doug and me. And Doug and I were both like, Margot, you don't have to stay. You don't have to stay. We're going on and on about all these announcements about Natick and that. She lives in Watertown. And she said, I was really fascinated to listen to that part of the discussion. You guys are so inspiring about local activism and community organization. And so I wanted to share that with at least those of you that are still here to know that she wasn't just staying on to be polite. She was actually fascinated and really inspired by Coffee with a Purpose.
I can say that others, like Rob Dunleavy, who came on back in September and talked, remarked to me afterward that he was, he had no idea anything like this energy existed in Natick, and he's been living here for a long time. So,
yeah. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Cindy, particularly when there are people from other communities. Who knows? Maybe there'll be Coffee with a Purpose splinter groups in other communities. Yeah. But in any event, all right. Yeah, it's been a great discussion. Lots of good brainstorming and energy. Lots of good reminiscing too.
well, thank you, Doug, and everybody else.
Yeah. Cool. And Rick, I'll get the AI summary of all of this to you and Roger and others. And yeah, offhand, I didn't hear anything that I think we would need to edit out of the online video. So
I don't think so at all.
Yeah. Great.
Goodness.
All right.
Before we sign off, I just want to say I'm really grateful for this group. I am grateful, Doug, Sarah, Martin, Pat, Rick, today, Donna. I'm really grateful for this group. It feels I'm honored to be a part of it, and I'm grateful for all you guys do to bring all of your Cindy. You bring some amazing people, and I just want to say as we move into the new year, I'm really grateful for this group, and thank you guys all for being a part of it.
Cool. Yeah.
One more comment. There's a profound display of transgender flags in front of the First Congregational Church as a response to solidarity, in response to the damage and destruction and removal of those flags from a display at Boston Common. And the flags represent all of members of our transgender community who have suffered violence and death, I think, from 2000. I think it's from 2000. It's very powerful. So please go look at it if you can, and using it even for a teaching moment to others to raise their awareness.
Is this at First Church? Where is this?
First Congregational Church, the one on the Common.
Okay.
If you go to the website too, there's a page that provides some additional background similar to what
Great.
Donna
Thanks for mentioning that.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. All right. Great. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording.